Hello, Atlanta Real Estate Nation, and welcome to the one and only Atlanta Real Estate Podcast. We're bringing you the insider tips, tricks, and secrets to buying, selling, or investing in Metro Atlanta. Are you ready? Let's go! All right. Hello, Atlanta Real Estate Nation. How's everybody doing this July 4th weekend? By the time you hear this podcast, your July 4th may be over. We should publish on July 4th, though. So
sure.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My co-hosts Brad Martin and Oleg Gaidman. How are you guys? The Navy SEALs of real estate, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! That's us.
That's it,
baby.
Yeah. You guys don't look very good in a Navy SEAL costume, though. I'm just here to tell you. Yeah. Oleg, I've seen you in scuba diving gear. It's not a pretty thing.
Worked out, I guess.
Oh man, yeah. You got to hit the gym a little bit more there, man.
Woo! You don't like my six-pack?
Oh, I thought it was a 12-pack.
That day it was.
For sure. Oh, it's good to be with you guys. I'm sorry we skipped last week. I was on vacation, and I had all intentions of us getting together on a video and shooting it. But, man, when you go and visit family from out of town, man, every minute seemed to be spoken for. Yeah. And so, anyway, but...
Did you have a good time?
Had a good time, man.
Yeah.
Went to my old theme park, Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. I spent many summers there as a kid. Just, you go. It's a great roller coaster park if you're into roller coasters and stuff. So, last time I was there it was a couple years ago, and I got my niece to ride this roller coaster, and she's going up this Blue Streak, it's called. It's like this really cool intro roller coaster, and you go up, and I've convinced her to do this. Right? She's 13 years old. It's time for her to ride a roller coaster, for crying out loud. We get halfway up the hill. Tears are streaming down this poor girl's face. I'm scared to death. Anyway.
Uncle.
2 years. Yeah, that's right. I'm the cool uncle, right? 2 years later, she's like, Uncle Terry, let's go on the Magnum, which is, at the time was a pretty big roller coaster. And she would have gone on the tallest one had we had a little bit more time. So I've got a convert. But I'm telling you what, guys. I'm recommending that you do not ride roller coasters when you're 48 years old or older.
I love them.
Oh, my gosh, man.
And I don't like them at all.
You don't? Yeah.
Never liked them.
Well, I'm telling you, I was sore, so sore the next day. I might be done. I might be retired from the roller coaster stuff.
Well, with that knee, for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, it's good to be with everybody today. We got a really cool show. We're going to talk about keeping your emotions in check when buying a house, guys.
Sometimes that's difficult.
It's a crazy market. But first, Oleg, you've got a really cool kind of a stat or a quick tip about the Atlanta marketplace. Why don't you share it with us?
Oh, yeah. From No Atlanta magazine, 50,000 salary in Georgia equals to $69,000 in Seattle, 87,000 in San Francisco, 112,000 in New York, and 59,000 in Chicago.
So a $50,000 salary in Atlanta is equal to a $112,000 salary in New York City.
In New York City.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
But only 59 in Chicago, which we all thought was kind of low.
Yeah, that does seem low, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's cool. Atlanta's a great, a very affordable place to live, it's good.
Affordable and beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, I have friends in Charlotte and Greenville, South Carolina, and other, kind of southern areas, and it's more expensive than Atlanta. So, go figure. Well, listen, hey, let's jump into our topic here. Keeping your emotions in check when buying a home. It's still a hot market in the Atlanta real estate market. We're in summer, we're redlining it, and every house it seems to be a hot house, right?
That's it.
And you guys, you work with a lot of buyers. Tell me about some of the emotions that people feel when they find a house they really like.
Well, they're ready to make an offer like other couples as well, and it seems like everybody's jumping on the house at the same time, and that's why we have record numbers of multiple offer situations in the Atlanta market.
Yeah, there's no inventory.
There's no inventory. Seller's
market, for sure.
Seller's market. And what's interesting? I am starting to see more and more signs. Mm-hmm. I was driving down the road the other day, and I'm like, wow, there's like 5 signs within a mile here. So I feel like inventory is climbing. I didn't get a chance to run the stats this morning, but I feel like the inventory is going up. So
is it because older sellers are feeling that they have to raise the prices?
I think a lot of it might be piggybacking off some of the high prices that we have, don't you guys?
I do.
You know, you got a guy that's got a superb property, you know, that sells for $400,000, and a neighbor 2 doors down who thinks quote unquote thinks he has a superb property, and he lists for $425. You know, that's called the copycat listing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, that's happening a lot around here for sure. Will he get the $425?
The copycat?
Yeah.
Only if his home is conditioned like it should be.
Yeah. So it's not. I mean, it's less superior. So, all right. So what other emotions, you know, do you guys see? And I guess my question is, what things do buyers typically give into based on an emotional purchase?
I think buyers are ready to give a lot of things when somebody likes the house enough to, you know, forfeit a financial contingency or do an escalation clause on a property to go above the asking price.
Oh, whoa. You're getting really technical for me here, man.
No.
So think of Joe Public. What's an escalation clause?
Escalation clause is when, again, you're playing on emotions and you know that this property is hot and the price right for the market. There's an option of doing an escalation clause which says, I'm going to offer above what you're asking and above what another buyer is offering up until a certain limit. So let's say the property is $200,000. We offer $200,000, but we do an escalation clause up until $207, and we say if any other offer comes in under 207, we'll beat it and we'll give you additional either $500 or $750 or $1,000 over the other offer.
Okay, so buyer A says, I'm going to pay $200,000 for your house. Buyer B, who Brad represents, comes in at 205, but buyer A has a $200,000, but an escalation clause that says I'll pay you $1,000 more than your next highest offer or your highest offer. So if Brad's people go in at 205 and somebody else goes in at 200 with an escalation clause, they're basically saying they're going to pay 206.
They're basically going to say we'll meet 205 plus the additional whatever negotiated amount above the other second offer.
Okay. So I'm a listing agent, let's say, and you guys are bringing these buyers, right? So Oleg, you're bringing the $200,000 buyer with an escalation clause, and Brad, you're bringing a $205,000 buyer. Now, as the listing agent, I don't like and again, this goes back to social dynamics, right? Understanding the agent, understanding negotiation techniques, really drilling down deep and understanding the personality of somebody. And so if as a listing agent, I don't like escalation clauses. I think they're a cop-out, to be honest with you. I would much rather take Brad's offer because he actually stepped up and made the 205 offer, right? Your client made the $200,000 offer. I feel like I'm penalizing Brad's good offer.
It's a good thing that the seller gets to choose.
Right, yeah, exactly. The seller does get to choose.
Based on the price, and they usually choose based on who's higher.
Now, will a seller make an emotional decision on, if there's 4 offers on their house, will they make an emotional decision?
Of course.
Yes.
What kind of emotional decisions sellers make?
You know, sometimes a buyer, if being guided right with their realtor, a buyer will include a nice letter about their family and where they're from and just how much they're going to enjoy the house, the neighborhood. And sometimes that can connect with the seller good as well.
Yeah, I mean, but again, you got to be careful as an agent not to recommend they do that necessarily because federal fair housing laws, I think, would frown on somebody basically saying, hey, you know, I've got 2 kids, their ages are 7 and 9, and they love the pink bedroom, and they, you know, now granted, I'm not sure if there's been any litigation or anything like that, but we got to be careful as agents to advise. Those things do work, and sellers do make emotional decisions because they want somebody to buy their house that they what? That they like.
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Moms particularly. You know, they raise their kids in a house, they still have an emotional tie to that house. Now, I'm not saying all moms, they're very pragmatic mothers, they won't make that decision. But, you know, women in general, though, tend to be more emotional about a house because that's their castle, right? And that's
woman buyer or woman seller, or
woman seller and woman buyer
Yeah.
can be. But again, I don't want to paint with a broad brush.
Right.
That's not necessarily true all the time. Okay, so let's talk about some other things that.
So
yeah.
hold on, let me jump into that a little bit more. I think if we're on the seller side and there are multiple offer situations, even with the letter from your buyer, it's sometimes just most times, more than not, it boils down to what's the bottom line and what kind of financing do they have.
There's usually somebody in the household that's a decision maker that it comes down to a bottom line thinking,
Yep.
right? And then those conversations go on at night before bedtime or whatever else, right? I mean, you got the one pragmatic person, one emotional person, and they're hashing it out trying to make a decision. That's why we'd like to sleep on it,
That's it.
a lot.
That's it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
What other things might buyers give up? We talked about the escalation clause.
Buyer might possibly look to waive the contingency of their current home selling.
Oh man, that's a big one, Brad. Tell me why that could be a big mistake sometimes.
Well, it could be a big mistake because, well, first of all, the buyer might waive because they've been looking for a long time and they finally found the ideal house for their family.
And they can afford it.
And they can
right?
afford
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it can be a mistake is even though if they think their current home is in great condition, in a great neighborhood, priced at market, it still could sit on the market for a long time. And they could be owning two homes for quite a while.
Yeah, especially, this market seems to be hot, and I think people are getting used to the idea that I'm not going to hold my home very long. But you're right. You gotta have conversations with people that basically say, okay, yes, you can do this. This is a viable strategy. However, know that do you have a plan in place for worst case scenario? What happens if your house sits on the market 6 months?
That's right. Because at the end of the day, you want to guide your clients right that where you don't want to see any hardship come to them.
Right.
So like by guiding them right, if they agree to take the contingency off, you want to know that family is going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, the agent is the logic behind the contract a lot of times because we do this every day. This is what we do, and so we see people get emotional. We see how people can overreact, and you try to just kind of level the playing field a little bit. Okay, what else? That's a really good one, by the way. Earnest money. Sometimes people can put down tons of earnest money, right?
Industry standard is 1%.
Yep, the best practice is that's what most agents would say is 1%. But they can put down too much earnest money. Mm-hmm. But earnest money is a good strategy because if you have a due diligence period, and let's say you really want this house, and if let's go back to the same example, Oleg's people are bringing me an offer at $200, and they've got $2,000 in earnest money. Brad's people are bringing me an offer at $205. Now let's forget the escalation clause for a minute, but his people are bringing $2,000 in earnest money, and then another agent brings me an offer at $203, and they're putting down $10,000 in earnest money. So, depending on what kind of seller you have, they might take that $203 offer with more earnest money than Brad's higher offer with less earnest money. Why would that be? Why would somebody do that?
Because the chance of them not closing and for that particular seller to keep all the earnest money.
They feel like there's more skin in the game from that particular buyer, right?
Right.
They must be serious, quote unquote.
Right.
Correct.
However, that's an emotional decision the seller makes, right? It's not the best financial decision. So here's the other piece of that, right? They've got I'm going to accept that lower offer with $10,000. Well, during due diligence, can they get every cent of that $10,000 back? Buyer can get it all back.
Yep.
Every penny.
And so that's a really good strategy for a buyer because you're not really risking any more money. As long as you decide during your due diligence period.
That's it.
Now you get past that due diligence period, all of a sudden you got $10,000 out there. You better close that house or you're going to lose some serious money.
That's right.
So you got to be confident in knowing that you can put the $10,000 down and confident knowing it's a good strategy. And boy, when you hit the end of that due diligence period, you better be sure you're going to buy.
Oh, yeah. And then reality kicks in.
Yeah.
And I just remembered one more fact I'd like to share about escalation clause. I've noticed that a lot of times, not a lot of times, but it happens when you submit a contract and you're representing the buyer and the asking price is $200,000. I'm offering $200,000, but my escalation clause goes up to $207. Mm-hmm. I've noticed last transaction or last offer that I did, the listing agent did not see the escalation clause. He's like, Oleg, I told you that we have multiple offers, and you're offering me 200,000 the asking price.
Yes.
I said, can you please go on page 8 and look at on page 7 and look at special stipulations, because
Yep.
we have an escalation clause. So sometimes you actually have to represent and speak with that listing agent further and in much more detail before sending in an offer to represent the
and
buyers.
there's tons and tons of new agents in the marketplace. I mean, most of them probably couldn't define what an escalation clause is because they've never used it before.
Right.
So anyway, okay, what else? There's a couple other things that we might have here. We talked about, maybe waiving the appraisal contingency. Brad, when would that be a good idea?
To waive it?
Yeah.
As far as a buyer?
Yeah, if it's a hot house and it's clearly priced right, is it safe to waive the appraisal contingency?
If you have done your homework and you know it's priced right and you know it's priced at market value, you're pretty safe to waive that. But you do stand a chance that if it appraises low, that you're going to be paying the difference from where it appraises to what the sale price was.
Yeah.
And in today's market, it seems like a lot of appraisals are coming in below selling price.
It does seem that way.
You have to be careful.
Lately.
So the only time I would recommend for a client to waive the appraisal contingency if they love this house and they're paying cash.
Yeah.
I would not otherwise, unless the situation is critical.
Yeah. But personally, I mean, if I found a house I really absolutely loved and I knew I was going to spend 10 years in it and I knew it was priced right? Mm-hmm. That's the key. You've got good solid comps all around the neighborhood and you know that it's right. Mm-hmm. I'd have no problem waiving a appraisal contingency. Because if I wasn't happy with the appraisal, personally, I might, and this is me talking, I mean, I've got 15 years of real estate experience here, so I might just switch lenders and get another appraisal.
Yeah.
So it's one thing that that can be a useful strategy is waiving that appraisal contingency. Particularly, I mean, you got to do your homework. You guys both said it. Got to have the homework done and be confident.
But the thing on waiving that here again, that's taking care of your client, that making sure they fully understand if they waive it and it does come in low, that they're fully prepared financially to pay the difference without it being a hardship.
Yep, that's correct. Okay, let's see here. Home inspection items. This is a big one, you guys. This comes up a lot, where people will kind of gloss over some home inspection items. Let me ask you guys something. When you're working with a client and a home inspection comes in, what do you advise your client to do on a home inspection? If they say, hey, what would you do? What do you tell them?
What would you do on a home inspection?
Yeah. Hey, Oleg, I'm giving you this home inspection. Tell me what repairs I should ask for.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
are you going to answer that question?
Probably not.
Okay, why?
Because usually all the home inspections are, I'd say, 30 to 55, 60 pages long. They're all pre-printed. All the inspector does is go in and fill in the blanks, and they're all different. There's not a single one that's the same. And what might seem like an issue to me might not seem like an issue to you at all as a buyer.
Bingo. Yeah, that's it.
And I think that's a main reason why we can't really discuss it. I will definitely sit down and help you point out things and recommend, but essentially you're going to buy this house, live in it, and
you make the decision.
You should be comfortable with making that decision.
What do you think, Brad?
Your client is relying on you from beginning to end, and they're expecting you to take care of them and help advise them to make good decisions. So when you have a client have a home inspected and the inspection comes in and you sit down with them, they want to sit down with you and they want advice, and they're asking you for advice on what to do. You do say that I want you to look over this report and you point out to me what you feel like you want to address.
Yeah, the important items to you.
The important items to you. And, at a time, just being honest, if there's some things on there that I feel like that they really need to look at and they didn't bring up, then what do? Do you say, you didn't mention these, but in my experience, this might be something you want to look at?
Well, and I think there's a language between the two agents too, right? So if you're representing the buyer and there's a listing agent involved as well, there might be some things that happen that just commonly are asked for in the marketplace that that you should ask for, because most people do ask for it. For example, wood rot. There's always wood rot in Georgia. It's humid, and the windowsills and stuff. There's always wood rot, and so it's a very common thing to ask for that to be repaired and replaced and painted and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's very possible that the listing agent has had these conversations with the seller before, saying this is going to come up on a home inspection. Be prepared to do it, and that seller may be prepared to do items that you may not ask for. So I always tell my clients, if it was me, I'd ask for everything. That said, you're probably not going to get everything. So what are the most important items to you, Mr. Buyer? And let's focus on the major items. And that way, you're basically negotiating a brand new contract. It's just a repair contract, right? You've already negotiated the purchase and sale agreement on the front end. Now, all of a sudden, there's a second negotiation that takes place on these repairs.
Did I hear you say you would ask for every single item on that report?
If they ask me what I would do, I would say, as a buyer, you should ask for all of them.
Wow.
From a negotiation standpoint, though,
that's not going to happen.
It may not be wise. It's not realistic.
Right.
Because here's the thing: I don't want to be liable.
Right.
I don't want to tell them not to fix the electrical issue. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I wouldn't ask for that. And then they move in the house, and all of a sudden the house burns down because of that electrical issue.
And you advised them not to ask for it.
Yeah, I don't want to be liable for that.
Yep.
So you fix everything. Realistically, though, right? I'm going to say that realistically.
It doesn't happen, yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's a negotiation that takes place between everybody. And if you ask for everything, that seller might tell you just to go pound sand. He'll find another buyer.
Exactly.
So you got to
in this market, 100%.
Again, and those conversations take place, right? But I don't want to be liable for the one thing that is not there.
Correct.
Here's the thing: decisions made during emotional times and put into a contract do not fade away when those emotions fade. And so when you move into the house and something breaks down within 2 days of moving into the house, and you're calling your agent, saying that the home inspector missed it or whatever, right? I mean, it's a house. Things are going to break.
And it's not a brand new house in most cases.
No. I mean, you could have a 70-year or a 50-year-old house that has no problems for 2 months.
Right.
And you could have a brand new house that's got a problem after 2 days.
Absolutely.
Well, and when you're saying it's not a brand new house, the flip side of that is, guys, is a couple of closings that I just did was on new homes, new construction. And one buyer did not have the new construction inspected, and another one did. The one that had it inspected, there was a pretty good size punch list come back. Mm-hmm. And I fully believe that that home would have closed if we would not have done that inspection like it was. I mean, it's a brand new home, so most people think there's not anything wrong with a brand new home.
Right.
But builder fixes all of those.
But the builder, the builder did. But the things that the inspector found, there were two pretty good things that he found that were not on the list to be fixed. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're doing new construction, you have to get a home inspection.
Mm-hmm.
People, if you don't get a home inspection, it's
silly,
stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to say it right now.
Yep. But a lot of people feel like on a new home you don't have to, but you do. You need to.
You need to. I mean, it's not a perfect process building a house.
Yeah.
And what I always tell people is the $500 or $600 you spend on that home inspection, you couldn't get a handyman to come fix those items that you haven't found because you refuse to do home inspection. Correct. A handyman, you could find thousands of dollars worth of repairs that need to be made, like the one.
Yep.
Right. So. Okay.
But a lot of those that you cannot see is really what you're paying for the inspection to find.
Yeah. So, but
well, a lot of them are things you can't see. But again, when a client purchases a home, that's not the profession they're in. So they could be standing there looking at a huge problem and not even know it because they don't know what to look for.
I mean, let's think about building a house for a second. We want to find the cheapest labor to build a house and with the highest quality, right? Well, at some point...
And the speed.
And a speed, right? Yeah, super fast.
Quick.
So we're building fast. We're trying to find cheap labor that does a good job. Well, and we know in this market today, it's really almost impossible to find that. So you can count on subcontractors shortcutting and doing things to finish a job quickly.
And some things just automatically get overlooked,
Yep.
even not intentionally.
I know we weren't supposed to talk about new construction, and we're going to end with this, I think, because we're getting close to our time. But new construction, there's two types of inspections that you can have. You can have a framing inspection, pre-framing. That means once before the drywall goes on, you have your home inspector come in and he kind of examines the skeleton of the house. That's a great inspection to do. And then they do a final home inspection at the end after the drywall and sheetrock and the paint and the appliances, everything's already in, and they'll find other stuff.
Right.
You got to do a home inspection on new construction.
Yep.
Well, hands down, my suggestion to do an inspection on every single transaction.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, look, we've got an investment arm where we buy, fix, and flip houses, right? I mean, we do home inspections on the worst pieces of junk you can imagine, because I want to make sure we know what we're buying. Okay, that's it. What else you guys got? Anything else?
I think that's
a
a wrap.
Okay, well, that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can visit us at our website is atlantarealestatepodcast.com. atlantarealestatepodcast.com. You can search every house for sale in Metro Atlanta at callatlantahome.com. And if you want to talk to us or ask us any questions, you can reach out to Molly in our office and just call 770-240-9949, and Molly will put you in touch with one of us. And we hope you have a great day, and thanks for listening. That's a wrap. Nice. Good one, man. Is it rain or is that applause?
Applause.
Oh, okay. It has been raining here a lot. All right, that's a wrap, everybody. Take care.